Hey everybody, it is Ranger here, or you may also know me as Unfunny from a few years ago before when this channel was completely focused on Nancy Drew. It is officially the start of fall, spooky season has begun, and I couldn't think of a better way to celebrate than return to the series franchise that started both this channel and my personal experience as a person who plays games and enjoys games and now plays games for you guys. This was originally planned to be a full ranked list, but as I was going through, my opinions kept changing and I realized this is such a subjective topic that subjective topic that I'm going to be changing my mind as I go through, which is a perfect format for a tier list. I don't usually do tier lists or anything like that on this channel, so if you do like tier lists, let me know and I will come up with some new ones off the top of my head, and we can make it like a weekly, monthly thing. Anyway, that out of the way, today we are going to be going through and ranking every Nancy Drew game based on how scary it is. We have multiple tiers. Technically we have 5 tiers. We have one more tier, which is the haven't played tier, where I unfortunately have to put Mystery of the Seven Keys. I'll go ahead and get that out of the way. I haven't played it yet. It's on my to-play list. It's been... as soon as it came out, I got really busy, and it flew under my radar, and I've missed it, and I really need to come back to it. So, maybe somewhere down the line, we will have a blind playthrough video. Hopefully, that would be fun. But, so the rules for this video, I'm just going to go through with the order they have them here, so not series order, but that's okay. And I'm going to be placing them in the categories. The categories I have laid out are: a toddler could play this, not scary at all. Those squeaky floorboards aren't fooling me, so this is something where, you know, the atmosphere is scary, you're kind of on edge, you're kind of, don't nobody walk up behind me, but it's not necessarily scary. Kind of freaky is when there's some stuff that's like not necessarily scary, but it sticks with you. Say you're going about your day after playing a game, you're going shopping, and then you're like, man, I really hate glass eyeballs now. I can't do it. Or you see a glass eyeball and it reminds you, and you're like, oh, please no. Then we have turn the lights back on, please, which is scary games, but they're not the scariest. So if it's something like you're on the edge of your seat, you're uncomfortable, but you're just uncomfortable. You're not in this next tier, which is BRB, hiding under my bed. This is the scariest possible. I know everybody knows which few games are going to be up here, because they still scare me, and I've played them countless times. I've been playing Nancy Drew games since I was 5 years old. These games still scare me. So, this is you're tense, you're on the edge of your seat, but you're also on the edge of the seat in the context of you're about to go make a run for it if anything happens. And I think we should just get started. I'm super excited to go through these. I love talking Nancy Drew. If you love also talking Nancy Drew, feel free to stick around. I would love to have you like and subscribe to the channel, so I know that you want more of this content, more of my more classic standard Nancy Drew content. Please let me know down in the comments also if you agree with this list. I feel like we all pretty well agree on what is really spooky in Nancy Drew, but if you disagree, please let me know in the comments, because I love to talk Nancy Drew with people. Now let's start off with, I have not played the original Secrets Can Kill. We will move that out of here also. I need to get my hands on that one. So we're going to start with Nancy Drew and The Haunting of Castle Malloy. This one is a bit of a special case. There will be spoilers, by the way. I didn't mention that. There will be spoilers. I'm not going to show any game footage behind this. I thought about it, but I figured have more of a conversation instead of a video essay for, have a relaxed end of the week. Um, but there will be spoilers. I will be talking scary plot points. Some of those involve the end of the game, some of those involve the plot, including the plot of this game. So if you have not played Haunting of Castle Malloy, I'm really sorry. I'm about to spoil its goofy ending for you. This is a special case, and it's a weird one to start out with, because when I first was playing this when I was younger, I was terrified. I was so scared of this banshee flying around. When she shows up outside the window for the first time, I was done. I was out of there. I'm kind of telling on myself as a kid, telling on Baby Ranger. After I played this for the first time, I was afraid of the skylight that we had in our bathroom, because I kept thinking that the banshee from Castle Malloy was about to fly up and screech at me while I was trying to take a shower. Did not like that. But after having played it and finished it, it has gone from a game that was really scary to me and really kept me on edge, and gone to kind of funny. Now that I know what's going on behind the scenes, I can't take it seriously. I do think I'm going to put it will be the first in the Turn the Lights Back On Please tier, just because some of the set design is scary. The nursery is, again, really terrifying. The moors, the spooky moors, very good. I can't take it seriously, which is a tough one. If it had a different ending, which I'm not saying the ending is bad, the ending is just funny. If it had a different ending, it would probably be up a tier. But as it stands, we're sticking it in Turn the Lights Back On. Next, we have Curse of Blackmore Manor, which is going straight to the top, hiding under my bed. The thing that makes this game so scary to me is that there's so many different little triggers and little random things that happen that my game feels different every time I play it. There have been times when I have seen new cutscenes that I've never seen before. Of course, you have the standard chanting, you have the nightmare. I always get those, but the cloaked figure running down the hall, there are a couple that I'm missing, but there's always all this random stuff going on that I'm always on edge that I'm going to see something I haven't seen before. And there's this whole layer to the manor. If you've played this, you know. The upper part of the manor is very cozy. It's very comforting. The bottom half, the catacombs, the alchemy lab, is very, very unnerving. It feels cold. And there's this clash between cold and warm and comfort and danger that makes that danger feel so much more real. If you guys have played any of the Resident Evil games, which I'm a big Resident Evil nerd. I might cover some later on down the line, but with those games there is kind of an interaction where the safe rooms feel more warm and safe and comforting because everything else is so dangerous. When it's the opposite here, you don't know what's going on and you're stepping down into these cold, dark, creepy tunnels with a light that could go out at any moment, because it will go out. And you're missing that warmth that you had before. The music gets cold. There's no goofy parrot anymore. There's just these creepy signs hanging at you from the walls. You're thinking maybe you're stuck in here with a werewolf. It's that makes it easily. It's not the scariest game in the franchise. It will be passed up. We're doing left is scariest, right is less scary in the tiers, by the way. But it definitely deserves to be up here in the red, because it always finds a way to surprise me. Next, we have Danger by Design. This is a pretty bright and shiny game. Say, if you're afraid of rats, you're going to have a problem with it, but other than that, I think I'm going to put this in a toddler could play this. There are a couple, I guess the catacombs are kind of freaky if you're afraid of that sort of thing, but it's more of that's more of an exploration for me. It's more of going through exciting. There are a couple tense moments, but this is one of the more relaxed games. Definitely, if I'm feeling like I want to be spooked, this isn't even close to coming up on my mind. Nothing really scary other than the rats in the catacombs. Yeah. Last Train to Blue Moon Canyon. Ooh, this is a tough one, because the premise is spooky. Some of the ghost stuff is spooky, but it's also very much a sort of almost comfort game / western, where there's scary stuff, but there's also warm, like, just interesting treasure hunt moments. I think I'm going to put this one in kind of freaky. There are the whole passenger car is creepy. The stuff with some of the ghosts is creepy. The stuff with going down into the graveyard, that's kind of but overall, it has that interplay between spooky and comforting, but a lot more is comforting than spooky. The passenger car, again, with the green-eyed deer and like the ghost lights outside, that got me when I was younger, but these days this is more of just a setting is kind of creepy, but everything else you relax, you're looking for treasure. Now, Crystal Skull, on the other hand, that is 100% going up into Turn the Lights Back On, Please. Scarier than Haunting of Castle Malloy for sure, but definitely not in the red tier. This one is more atmospheric. There's no big moment that I can think of off the top of my head, other than, of course, you're attacked by the skeleton at the beginning, but that's kind of a Scooby-Doo moment almost. This, it's mostly just you feel on edge the whole time. The characters are all creepy. The area is all creepy. You're collecting glass eyes. There's an alligator. There's a graveyard. It has everything you need for a gothic, more modern gothic storyline. The reason that it's not higher up like Blackmore Manor is you spend so much time reading, trying to figure out puzzles. I'm bad at the puzzles in this game. I will fully admit I'm bad at this game. This is one that is difficult for me. And I think that difficulty makes it less scary for me, because I'll be sitting here and I'll be working on this puzzle forever, and I'll just be thinking ugh, it's not scary anymore. I've been collecting glass eyes for 5 hours. I'm not scared anymore. I'm sick of glass eyes, but I'm not scared. Now, if you are especially afraid of spiders or iguanas, this will get to you. Also, that dummy that's in the hidden room behind Renee's room is creepy enough, but that dummy is terrifying, and the voices that the dummy makes, absolutely terrifying. But I do not think that it is enough to bump it up to the red tier, so we are leaving it in Turn the Lights Back On, Please. Next, we have Lights, Camera, Curses from the Dossier series. A couple atmospheric things, but this is going in, a toddler could play this. This isn't scary. The Dossier series are more of just more casual puzzle games, with extra match 3 puzzles, point and click, that kind of stuff. Not really, they're more casual. They're not really that scary. Message in a Haunted Mansion. I feel like this may surprise some people, because it is an older game. This is going up in the highest on our list so far. Be Right Back, Hiding Under My Bed, for a very specific reason. You do find out early on that the place isn't actually haunted, but there's something about the location and the sound design, especially since it's an older game, that really, really kind of spooks me. The biggest one for me that I can remember, this is burned into my brain. I was playing it 7 years ago at this point, when this moment happened, and it threw me for a loop. And I'd played this before. I was really good at this game. Back when I was in middle school, I had my completion time. I could finish this in down about an hour, maybe a little bit less. I had it memorized. But I was walking up the stairs in the main hall of the mansion one time, and I just heard a whisper. And you've probably heard it if you've played the game before. I hadn't paid attention to it. But I was just walking up the stairs, and in the back of my head, I hear, "I see you." I was like, hold on a second. Who sees me? You see? Who? And I sat there for a minute because I had headphones on. And I was in a more like public place at the time. I wasn't in my bedroom. I wasn't in my house. And so I took my headphones off and I looked around because I had to make sure that there wasn't somebody behind me actually saying this, because these older games didn't have everything in the subtitles. Like, there were no subtitles for that. There are no subtitles for the spooky noises. So you start playing this, you get into it, you get wrapped up, you're solving puzzles, you're exploring this creepy mansion, and it starts to mess with your head almost, because you start hearing these creaks, these like cracks, you're hearing, I see you, and you're like, I don't like this. It gets in your head. And just for that reason, and I think part of it is the older game design, you see stuff out of the corner of your eye, you hear stuff in the back of your head, and you're like, ooh, that's scary. It's more psychological than anything, I think. Now that I'm thinking about it, I will put it behind Blackmore Manor, just because Blackmore Manor does more that's more likely to scare you. But for me personally, Haunted Mansion is up there. Haunted Mansion is scary. Next we have Midnight in Salem. Ooh, I'm gonna put Midnight in Salem at the bottom end of kind of freaky. I think this game tries too hard. And part of that is my bias against this game, but it's trying too hard to be spooky, and it's trying too hard to be different from the other games in a way that does not service it well. I have trouble with this game. I've played it before. I've only played it completely once through. I've messed around with it since then, and maybe it's the presentation. It's not scary to me, but there are things that could be scary. It has the potential and it has the groundwork to be scary. There's what is the thing? There's stuff in the forest with the, like, there is a ghost. There's a ghost at one point that's like a faked haunting. There's also the stuff in the graveyard, and you have like the ghost tours set up. It's a good October game for somebody who does not want to be scared. That's what I will say about it, and that's why I'm gonna put it here at kind of freaky. That's where it's gonna sit. Next we have Alibi in Ashes. This one depends on how afraid you are of fire. It has a couple tense moments, but beyond, like, especially beyond the beginning, a toddler could play this. I'm gonna put this right there in the middle. There aren't really... River Heights, this was the grand homecoming for Nancy. And River Heights is not scary. It feels like home. And you have a whole crew of people, so you're not even by yourself. You do have, like, the tunnels at the end, but again, that's kind of a standard location. It's not really very spooky. This is another one that's more of just a comforting game. It's a happy game. So that's going to stay down there. Danger on Deception Island, I'm going to put in those squeaky floorboards are not fooling me. Specifically because of the location. There's nothing inherently scary about this game. This is more of... I know it takes place during the summer, but this is more of a game that you would play like during November when it's getting colder. With the fog, the music, it's very somber. You feel like there is a depth to this town and to this area, and there's something out there in the fog, but it's not scary fog. It's not Stephen King fog. It's foggy outside. I'm going to drink a cup of tea or coffee, grab a book, and like sit by the fire. So it's not really scary, but you do also have a little bit of that itch, like, ooh, something's out there, I don't know what's going on. It's very somber, it's not comforting. It's more, it has the, if you've ever had LaCroix, it's the LaCroix of comfort, where there's just like a little bit of comfort in there. You can tell it's there, but you're not fully comforted, you're not fully on edge, you're just kind of existing in the middle. Next we have Ghost Dogs of Moon Lake. Ooh, this is a tough one, because it has some scary moments. It also has some of the most comforting, like, calm moments. I'm gonna put this in kind of freaky. We'll put this right here between Blue Moon Canyon and Midnight in Salem. Ghost Dogs of Moon Lake, the beginning is very effective. You're going to see these ghost dogs, you're going to get attacked by these ghost dogs, you're going to be afraid of these ghost dogs because they are, you run back inside after a conversation with a creepy man outside. I recently just streamed this, so this is pretty fresh in my mind also. You go outside, you're talking with this creepy old man that you kind of don't want hanging around, then you hear howls, you run back inside where he's like, get inside, unless you want to be the dog's next meal or victim or whatever. And you run inside and the dogs start attacking the house. There's, the power flickers, there's banging on the windows, the doors. There's it's very effective scene. It's a great start and you're on edge. You're like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? You go to bed, you wake up, and you look around and the dogs have left paw prints. You can tell there were dogs here. And then you talk about the dogs, but you never see the ghost dogs again. And so it's you started out with this strong start, and then it's just, there's nothing scary beyond that. I mean, I suppose if you're afraid of the dark, the woods at night are kind of if you're afraid of fire, again, like Alibi and Ashes, there is a fire scene if you're afraid of that type of thing. But yeah, it's going in kind of freaky, because it starts out freaky, and the rest of it just feels like a nice little state park, a little nature reserve, with, there could be dogs out there, but, you hear a howl every once in a while, but you never see them after the initial attack, which again, initial attack, very, it's good. It keeps you on edge. It's very effective. The rest of it, it kind of just drops it. Ghost of Thornton Hall, that is going right up there at the top. This is probably the penultimate Nancy Drew game if you want to talk about gothic horror Nancy Drew. This is it. Blackmore Manor laid the framework for this, the groundwork. Ghost of Thornton Hall finally, after a decade, delivers on that promise. You have so many ghost sightings. You have your spirit is the ghost of a young woman who was burned up in a fire. The family is at this house that's next to where the fire originally was, and they're all haunted by something. Everybody in this family is haunted, and it's the character work in this game is effective, even though the southern accents are a little bit much. But you have Wade, the grumpy guy who's, hanging out in the graveyard because he hates the family. And you have the boyfriend is just weird. The boyfriend is he gives Edward vibes from Twilight, and I don't mean that in a good way. So you have this creepy cast of characters, you have this ghost that's showing up. I will say, compared to another game that we will be talking about fairly soon, you guys know exactly which one it is, the scares in this game are somewhat less effective because there are so many of them. This is Nancy Drew fully leaning into the horror aspect of the franchise. There's also a deeper undertone, yes, you lost this one woman tragically. You lost Charlotte, and people have been seeing Charlotte, spotting Charlotte for years. There's also this undercurrent where other bad things have happened here, and these are not good people, and you're kind of alone, stuck on an island with them, which makes it worse. There's also, some people really like this, some people really hate this. There's also kind of not an explanation for the ghost. They say, this is a spoiler, they say, oh well, carbon monoxide poisoning. The furnace was leaking carbon monoxide, but there are ghost sightings outside of where you would be breathing the air. I know Nancy is also suffering from sleep deprivation on top of this, but everybody's having the same hallucinations, and hearing the same sorts of things, and there's kind of an ambiguity, like, this place could really be haunted, and I'm stuck here with an angry spirit, with a bunch of people who have wronged this spirit, and could also wrong me, looking for a missing person. That is... I will spoil my list, it is not the scariest Nancy Drew game, but it is really close up there to being the scariest. If you're looking for something to play this Halloween, play this game. It's perfect Halloween vibes. Perfect Halloween vibes. Next, we have Labyrinth of Lies. It depends on you how you feel about the set design. And what's his name? Does he actually name himself like Thanos? Is that his name? The guy who always shows up and disappears, like Ethel. I didn't even mention Ethel in Blackmore Manor. She's freaky. She freaks me out. Yeah, I'm gonna put this at the bottom end of Squeaky Floorboards. I'm abbreviating it to Squeaky Floorboards. I don't want to read that whole thing. There are a few spooky moments, few dramatic moments. You do descend into the literal Greek underworld at one point. It's like a weird set design, a weirdly overcomplicated set design, I have to say. And other than that, it's not really... It's pretty bright and shiny. I'm just bumping it up because there are some people who would find the fire and brimstone areas in Tartarus also kind of scary. Other than that, there's not much to worry about. Ransom of the Seven Ships. This is a difficult one. See, it's pretty bright and shiny, but there are also some, like... There's some dark moments here. There are also, like, some stuff with bats. I think it fits in with the same thing as Ghost of Thornton Hall being trapped on an island. I'm going to put it here, because you do have your skeletons, you do have standard pirate stuff. This is a pirate treasure hunt disguised as a kidnapping plot. The kidnapping plot does not matter. You're looking for this pirate's treasure, so you're going to have, like, that, especially if you have, what is that fear, the phobia of things, thalassophobia, like deep water, things hidden in deep water, that will get you here, if you have that fear, because you're diving into shipwrecks. There's also a point towards the end where you have to dive into this, there's this beautiful blue lagoon, and then you dive farther in, and it just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and it's dark, and you have to have a glow stick, and so I could see how that could get you. Other than that, pretty bright, shiny, not very scary, definitely staying in Squeaky Floorboards. Sea of Darkness? Sea of Darkness isn't scary to me. It's not scary to me in the slightest. It's probably more along the lines of a comfort game, but there are a couple places where, like, the music, in particular, where it just gets, like, really, really, not off-putting, but you start thinking, okay, I'm out here in the middle of nowhere, it's freezing, I'm in this cave, or I'm in this cabin in the middle of nowhere. If somebody took my snowmobile, I'd be stuck. So it does have that vibe, that fear of being snowed in, kind of. I don't think it's strong enough to hit the kind of freaky section. So I'm going to put it right here. Yeah, I'm gonna put it just slightly out right behind Deception Island. That's a good spot for it. None of the characters are really scary. A lot of the characters are entertaining. This game has some of my favorite characters, some of my favorite area design, but there's some stuff that happens, and all of the creepy stuff that happens revolves around natural phenomena like drowning, being caught out in the cold, that sort of thing. It's just, there's not enough of it to bump it up. Now, here we go, right to the top. Absolutely, no question about it. Shadow at the Water's Edge is probably, it's one of the scariest games I've ever played. I think it only gets beaten out by Resident Evil 7, which, if you've played that, that's horrifying. Nothing's ever going to touch that, hopefully. Man, Shadow at the Water's Edge. I have a story about this. When I was younger, not terribly young. I want to say anywhere between like 9 and maybe 12. I could have been younger than that, but not too much younger. My mom and I had been playing Nancy Drew games my whole life. Like I said, I started when I was 5, and we got our hands on a double disc of Shadow at the Water's Edge and Trail of the Twister at Target, which, oh, there it is. Trail of the Twister's on there. I didn't see it for a second. We got it, and we were on our way home. We were talking about which one we were going to play first, and I thought, oh, well, ghosts, tornadoes, you know, I could handle a ghost better than tornadoes. I've seen ghosts before, but tornadoes are real. Like ghosts are done in everything. Ghosts, that's not that scary. Tornadoes, that's real. That's spooky. A tornado could hit us. I'm afraid of tornadoes. Wow, let's go with the ghosts. And I have never, ever regretted a decision more than that. Starting out, the very beginning, I was like, oh wow, this is already kind of spooky. And then, like 15, 20 minutes in, we went into that bathhouse for the first time. And if you guys have played this game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Walking into the hot baths for the first time that was probably my first experience. I didn't grow up on horror at all. That was probably my first real experience with seeing something that scared me so completely half to death that I didn't know what to do. Because it's very effective, especially for a game of this type where you're used to, say, wandering around River Heights, you're used to wandering around Paris, you're like, you've had some scary games, but you've been wandering around in the woods or on an old train in a, gothic mansion. You're in a hotel. What could go wrong in this hotel? I mean, Stephen King is laughing in the corner with The Shining, but I was young, I was a kid, I was a preteen, and I was like, this should be a comforting place, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse, and it spirals, and everything was so scary. This was one of the only games that it took me a couple years to come back and play, because I was so frightened of this ghost and everything that would happen. And there are so many hauntings throughout. Like there's a time you'll see her shadow go by while you're trying to sleep. You will walk up to the second floor where your room is, and the doors will all like be open and slam shut, coming closer to you, and then there's just silence. Or you just walk by and the lights are flickering, and you know that something is going to happen. There's even a reference to The Ring in here, which I do think that the ghost is slightly inspired by The Ring. From my understanding, I've only watched bits and pieces of The Ring. It's not really my thing, but you can find a DVD in the one character's room and put it in the DVD player, and it will play a video of this ghost that looks like the ghost from the Ryokan coming at you in the screen, and then later you just get text this really, really creepy picture, and you're thinking like, is it coming for me? Like what's happening here? So that's definitely, this was one. I still slightly have a fear of flickering lights, because growing up, whenever I would play this game, and when I finally finished it, I would know that a flickering light meant that something was about to happen. And I haven't even talked about the old baths yet. The old baths where, again, spoiler, the person who is supposed to be the ghost is the mother of two characters and the daughter of another who fell, slipped in, and drowned. And there's also this dark undertone where it's like there's kind of a possibility that it could have been a suicide that they touch on too, so that's even darker. And the family always really blaming themselves, so there's a sad bit to it. But then you finally get down into this area where this lady is supposed to have died, and something happens down there. Multiple somethings. There's also a time when you go down there and the baths just get this murky, dark color, and you're like, that is disgusting, please no. But then the absolute biggest scare in any Nancy Drew game to date. I doubt they will ever top this, especially on the new engine. You sit there and you solve a puzzle. You've been solving this puzzle for probably 40 minutes. I'm pretty quick with nonograms. I'm good with nonograms. But depending on how good you are, you've been solving this forever, and then you open this safe and you find like a bunch of important clues, and you're like, okay, this is wrapping up. You back up, you're ready to go, and she is right there behind you, waiting. And not only is she there, she grabs you and she throws you in the baths where she is said to have died, where you've already seen this murky water, and then you have a puzzle where you have to get your way out of the baths or drown. And that is so unexpected for anything Nancy Drew. That is dark. They've played with dark things before this, but coming off of, like, especially the earlier games, and then you hit this woman who everybody is sad and has missed, and then you're learning about her. You're like feeling for this character, and you're like, wow, whatever's going on here is really sad, really dark. Whoever's doing this is a terrible person. And then you see her and interact with her in a way that almost kills you. That is terrifying. This is such a scary game. I would recommend this to somebody who isn't really a fan of these types of games but likes horror. I would recommend this because, wow. And then of course you get out and you get an explanation of what's going on and you figure things out from there. But without having that explanation, especially, this is going to hit you and you're going to be like, this is dark, this is scary. This is, if you stopped there, if you stopped with Nancy dying there, it would be the scariest experience that I've ever had in anything rated E10. I cannot believe this game was rated E10 because it scared me so much, even past 10. I have spent way too long talking about this game though. It is scary. And anybody who has played this will also agree this is a really scary game. It's also a really beautiful, well thought out game. I would definitely recommend it. If you are somebody who does not do well with scares, maybe look up a compilation video so you know where they're going to be, so you can be prepared, because these will throw you off, and these are scary. This is a very scary game. Anyway, I'm going to move on before I start repeating myself way too much. I probably just spent like 5 minutes on that last segment. We have Stay Tuned for Danger. This isn't really scary. There's some Uncanny Valley stuff where the character designs they're really primitive because this is an old game. There's also these weird photoshopped pictures, but that's more of a unintentional funny thing. I'm gonna put this down here. I mean, no, wait. There is the bomb. You do have the bomb threat, and you do have the bomb threat against Nancy. Second thinking it, there's some stuff that's like, that could happen in real life that's scary. There's more of a stalker scary vibe here, but it's very light. It's very light. I was gonna put this in toddler. It's going in squeaky floorboards just because there is a point where you do feel like this person who's been stalking this actor has had enough and they're now coming for you, which it's never really scared me, but I also played this later in life. I could see how it could scare some people. Captive Curse. This is the Nancy Drew attempt at a Scooby-Doo mystery. I'm going to put this right here, under Haunting of Castle Malloy. The monster looks goofy. There's a lot going on here where you're like, I'm not sure if I should laugh or run for my life. Which is kind of, I think that's what they were going for, because you have a lot of humorous characters here. But these humorous characters and this Scooby-Doo like monster that kind of like stomps around and grunts and looks at you, just, no matter where you are, he makes a lot of appearances. This is a very active monster. You have these goofy characters and this monster layered on top of deeper, sadder stuff, very similarly to Shadow at the Water's Edge, and this came right after it. So I think that could be also why it's suffering a little bit on the scare factor on this list because it came right after the scariest game in the series. But you have these goofy characters, and then you have these sad moments, these darker moments. And I don't want to get into it. I don't want to spoil it, because it's something that you have to kind of explore for yourself. But it involves the history of the castle, the monster, where these stories came from. Because you have the Scooby-Doo monster, but there's also a history of things that happened before. And by the end of the game, you have explained who the monster is now, what's going on with this monster. But you haven't solved any of what happened before, and there's still like an itch in the back of your head like, those girls deserve better, and I don't have an answer for them. So, just because of that, and because there are a couple jump scares, it's going into turn the lights back on, please. Here we have the deadly device. And this is another one, like Crystal Skull, where I get too bogged down by the puzzles to actually be scared. I'm going to put it here in kind of freaky, above Midnight in Salem, and behind Ghost Dogs. The real scare factor here is the fact that there was a murder. Somebody was killed in this lab, in this facility, and it's somebody who is still in there with you. You were also pretty well and good snowed in, so you can't really go anywhere. However, the vibes aren't really like scary. The vibes are more technical, like you're doing all this fun STEM stuff, you're like making circuit boards and stuff, and it doesn't really leave a lot of time to be scared. There's just the idea someone was murdered, somebody has tried to murder you, somebody has tried to murder somebody else. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's moving down. It's moving down. It's not that scary. It's just the subject matter. The location itself isn't very scary. So I'm going to put it in at the very top of squeaky floorboards. Final scene is a different kind of scary. This is tense. I'm going to put this at the very top of kind of freaky, because this is something where you're on the edge of your seat. There aren't really any jump scares. There aren't really any, the environment isn't even scary. It's a dilapidated theater, sure, which could be scary, but it's more what's going on. Like, your friend was kidnapped, basically right in front of you, and now you have 3 days to save her. Like, I can see how that would be scary. That's something that is like a real, and also the culprit, I'm not going to say who, but the culprit's like disillusioned with everything. Like, he is absolutely ready to let your friend die for his cause, because he's kind of just, he doesn't know how to cope. He doesn't know, he's lost his mind. So it's going up to kind of freaky because of that. Haunted Carousel, this, they tried. They tried, at least in the trailer. Very bottom of squeaky floorboards. You have one haunting, kind of. You have a video of the carousel moving on its own, and then you solve what happened in that video pretty much like less than an hour later. You find a remote control, and it's like, oh wow, they don't want that. The scariest thing here is more the aesthetics of the theme park you're in are off-putting. Especially like the haunted house, you have these like weirdo, spooky alien things. So I mean, I could see how that could be scary. Other than that, though, you're not really. Ooh, got something in my eye. You're not really looking at anything scary. The trailer makes it sound terrifying. You're like, oh wow, like I'm about to be, calling for my mom. What's going on here? And then you load it up, and it's, sabotage in theme park. Fun little treasure hunt, nothing too serious. Shadow Ranch. This is a tough one. I'm gonna put it right over Ghost Dogs, behind Blue Moon Canyon. There's not anything really inherently scary about the Ghost Horse. There's nothing really dark about this game. There's just a feeling of abandonment in a specific area of the map. You have a ghost town that you go to where it constantly feels like you're being watched, and that feeling of being watched kind of compounds with the feeling of being hunted the longer that you're there, and you see shadows move. There is a point where you get knocked out also, and you wake up in the jail, and that section is what's carrying the kind of freaky here, because it kind of makes you uncomfortable every time you're there. There's also like just a threat of being like, if you're left there without water, it is a ghost town. Everybody has left. You're the only one here, except for the person that is watching you, that is hunting you. So that is freaky. If that was the entire game, it would be up a tier. The rest of the game, though, is so relaxing. This is top tier comfort game. I should make another ranking of like the most comforting Nancy Drew games. This is a childhood favorite. It's so comforting. It's so happy. Everywhere other than that ghost town. That ghost town is so much that it bumps it up to kind of freaky. Next, I am running out of time, so I'm going to go through these next couple with less detail. I spent so much time on Shadow at the Water's Edge. The Silent Spy, there's spy stuff. Spy stuff isn't really too scary, though. I'm going to stick it very, very top of a toddler could play this. Well, if it'll let me. Hold on. There we go. Very top of a toddler could play this. Because there's some, like, weird moments. There are tense moments, for sure. But it's also, like, you're playing your own little spy movie. And it goes off the rails. It's James Bond on steroids. Parts of it don't even make sense, but you're trying to save the world, you're doing spy stuff, you're ziplining. It's pretty lighthearted. It's not really... There is a heaviness that you're trying to figure out what happened to your mother. So there's a personal level to this, but at the same time, it's more emotional. There's not really anything scary going on. White Wolf of Icicle Creek, however, I'm going to actually put this at... I'm going to put this at Turn the Lights Back On, Please. This may be an odd placement for some of you guys. This may be kind of an off-putting one. But it is so possible in this game to get stuck outside by yourself and die of hypothermia. I've died of hypothermia so many times in this game that now, every time I go outside and it's freezing, inside my mind I'm playing, oh, it's so cold outside. If I don't get inside soon, or if I don't get warm soon, I may not make it, or whatever her line is. And there's a very real threat, and you're not dealing with, I mean, I guess you're dealing with the wolf, but you're not dealing with murder, you're not dealing with a ghost, or something supernatural, or these ghost dogs, or, the environment is so harsh and cruel that it becomes scary on its own without even needing to try. There is also, like, the whole sabotage thing where it's like, okay, there's somebody out here doing stuff while I'm out here, and sometimes you'll find footprints that don't belong to you, so you're like, I'm in this desolate place, but there is somebody else, but it's not as effective as Shadow Ranch's Ghost Town. I think mostly what makes this so scary is the fact that, like, this is a very real threat. If Nancy went outside during these conditions, she would die. And if I went outside during these conditions, I would die. So it's a very real threat, and that's what kind of bumps this one up a little bit higher. Next, Tomb of the Lost Queen. It seems like it would be scarier than it is. I'm going to put this in Squeaky Floorboards. Squeaky Floorboards under Sea of Darkness. This is the Ancient Egypt game, and you would think curses, snakes, desert, mummy, everything would compound to be scary, but there's nothing really that jumps out in this game. There's nothing... If you like Ancient Egypt, you're going to be interested in it, and it's not a bad game, but there's nothing in it that's very effective. There's a side storyline about a group of explorers disappearing and getting, like, lost out here and trapped, and it's heavily implied that they never found a way out. But there's not really... You're never in a situation where you feel like, I am going to die here in this tomb, or there's like, I'm in here with a mummy, I don't like this. It's not really... It has the potential, and it has like that cold, dark tomb feeling, but at the same time, it's not really... There's nothing big here, nothing too scary. Resorting to Danger, another Dossier game. Dossier, less scary than Lights, Camera, Curses. This takes place at a spa. There are random threats, bomb threats, bombs going off, but they're also like funny bombs, if that makes sense. Like, they're sabotaging in creative ways. There's nothing scary here. It's a spa, you're gonna be relaxed. Shattered Medallion is a weird one. Just in general, but also in terms of this. I'm gonna put this right here under Silent Spy, and a toddler could play this. You're in New Zealand, it's beautiful. There are a couple like raging rapids and stuff like that. There's a little bit of things beyond our comprehension, aliens, spooky, but there's nothing really that bumps it to... It's a fun adventure game. It's an adventure game. Same thing with Secret of the Old Clock. This is... Gosh, does anything scary happen in this game? I mean, at the very beginning there's a fire, but you don't even actually see the fire. The kitchen's just on fire and you leave. I guess the tunnels are slightly spooky, but there's nothing scary in this game. Nothing to even startle you. I love it. It's another very comfortable game, but that's going right there in a toddler could play this. Scarlet Hand. Well, Secret of the Scarlet Hand. This is going to go at the very bottom of kind of freaky. There is some weird, off-putting stuff with the Mayan civilization. You're learning about some stuff that's kind of like, oh wow, yeah, they just had ritual sacrifice. It's very educational. And so you're learning about this stuff and you're kind of thinking about it, but it's not like dark necessarily until you hit the ending, and the ending is scary. At the very end of the game, if you don't want this spoiled, jump ahead about 30 seconds. At the very end of the game, you are thrown into the monolith with the corpse of the person who was entombed inside of it. You find out it's a tomb, and then you're immediately pushed in, locked in. And you even have to pry open her mouth to get the key to get out. Which, why she didn't just use that key to get out, I don't know. But that ending is so out of nowhere and startling and scary that if you're not expecting it, you're going to be thinking about it for a while. So just because of that, it's going in the bottom tier of kind of freaky. Secrets Can Kill Remastered. This one's also going in kind of freaky. That's going to go right there at the end. There's nothing really scary here other than the fact that in today's day and age, somebody dying at a high school is something that will immediately, like, it will hit you, because that's something that's happened way too frequently. I'm from the United States, and you hear about that sort of thing on the news a lot. And so having a Nancy Drew game, solving a murder in a high school, has its own uncomfortable nature to it. Now, add on top of that, the music is very, other than Aunt Eloise's house, which is very comforting, the music has a very, like, just, it's either very dramatic or it's very sad. There's no real comfort anywhere other than Aunt Eloise's house. And the characters also don't seem too bothered by what happened here in their high school. So it's kind of like Uncanny Valley sort of deal, where you're like, why does nobody care? I understand, like, the victim was a terrible person, but it's also like, if somebody that I didn't like had passed away in my high school, even of like natural causes, it would give me pause. So the fact that nobody else is concerned about it, or like it makes you feel like you're in a hostile environment. Especially, I played this for the first time when I was in either middle school or high school. I was in school, so I also had that thought of like, okay, what if this was going on at my high school or whatever? So it had that extra bit to it that kind of put it on, that bumps it up, just up a tier. Creature of Kapu Cave, it's a very relaxed game, very chill game, except for the couple places where you're hearing this freaky whispering, you're hearing some like weird stuff. There's some strange things happening in this volcano, and as a result, this one, I don't want to talk about it too much. Again, I'm running low on time. I'm gonna stick this up here right above, no, right under Deception Island. That's where I'm gonna stick that one, and that's where I'm gonna stay with it, because it's not very scary. You have like the goofy Darth Vader guys, but other than that, there's no real creature spottings. Like, you're just hearing this whispering, and it's spooky, but it's not that spooky. Next we have Phantom of Venice. This is another spy type of deal. I will say this one you have more interaction with this Phantom, although he is not a Phantom, he is a thief, and it's more of an exciting, glamorized type of deal. It's Jewel Thief. I'm not really thinking of anything scary, so I'm gonna put this in here. Other than him like getting into your room, I'm gonna put this right here above the Silent Spy, because it's very similar to the Silent Spy, except you're dealing with a more personal threat, if that makes sense. Trail of the Twister. Like I said, tornadoes themselves are kind of scary. This game is not scary. However, if you're somebody who is like, would refuse to watch Twister, this is going to get you, because this is about tornadoes. You're going to experience tornadoes. You're going to experience the aftermath of tornadoes, where communities are broken and they're lost or loved ones that have passed away. So that kind of, it's very relaxed, but it's also very real, similar to how White Wolf of Icicle Creek is, except it's not nearly as hostile. You feel like you're here with friends. So as a result, this is going at the top of Squeaky Floorboards. Oh, maybe. Here we go. Top of Squeaky Floorboards. Weather, bad. Weather, scary, but not alone. You're kind of also just hanging out on a ranch for half of the game. So it's a very relaxed, fun environment that just also happens to have some very, very bad weather that could potentially sweep you away. Treasure in the Royal Tower. This is a comfort game. It has some spooky stuff, kind of. You get locked outside. There's like some banging in the walls, but that gets answered pretty soon. I'm gonna put this. This is also going in Squeaky Floorboards. This Squeaky Floorboards tier is getting really, really crowded. That's gonna go right under Stay Tuned for Danger, because there's not really. You get locked out. You deal with hypothermia like White Wolf, but it's not too terribly scary. It's like maybe a 5-minute sequence if you play your cards right. Same thing with like the banging in the walls. You solve that really quickly. You figure out what's going on within a couple hours, even if you haven't played the game before. So not really anything too scary, but there is the framework there for something scary. Now finally, we have Warnings at Waverly Academy. This one is very lighthearted on the front, but it also deals with some like kind of weird stuff. You have kind of like the same cultish vibes of Blackmore Manor with the, what's it called? Is it like the Blackwood Society? Something like that. You also have to deal with the fact that there is somebody going around and targeting these high schoolers, one of the high schoolers, and it gives almost a sort of, not as severe as Scream, but the type of deal where it's like, okay, there's a whole bunch of us. We're the same age. We're going through this together, but one of you is trying to harm the rest of us, and we now have to figure out who it is before we are also harmed in a way that could send us to the hospital. Like, there was the really bad case of, like, food poisoning or an allergy or something. There was the person who was claustrophobic and locked in the closet. Like, this was getting more severe, and it was getting to the point where somebody was going to get seriously injured, and it's like the pettiness of high school girls is, unfortunately, kind of scarier than a lot of the stuff here. So I think I'm actually going to put this, along with the Edgar Allan Poe stuff, I'm going to put this right there, maybe, in the kind of freaky... Yeah, that's where it should go. And that, right there, that wraps up everything I have for the every Nancy Drew game other than these original 2 that I covered that I haven't played. This wraps up the scariest every Nancy Drew game ranked in a tier list, from least scary to most scary. I hope you guys have enjoyed going through this with me. Again, I feel like these are pretty common opinions. If they're not, please let me know, because I love talking Nancy Drew. I can't wait to hear what you guys think in the comments. I know this has been a long video. We've kind of just been hanging out here for a while, plopping things down. I talked about Shadow at the Water's Edge for a good 10 minutes. But, with that wrapped up, if you like this kind of content, please be sure to let me know, and I will try to do more of it. I'm also working on a new study mix, which back on my old channel, those were really popular, and midterms have been hitting me really hard right now, which is why this video is kind of more of an informal, less heavily edited kind of deal. Midterms have been hitting me hard, so I'm working on a new fall-themed ambiance Nancy Drew study mix video along the lines of my old ones, so stay tuned for that. I hope to have it out within a week. I also have some Fallout stuff coming up. I'm hoping to cover some of The Outer Worlds before the sequel comes out, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen because I am behind schedule on that. Either way, if there's anything you would like to see me do, please let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this, or if you have any feedback, please let me know in the comments too. If you want more of this, I will be making more like this. Just like the video so I know this resonates with you, you had a good time watching this, and of course, subscribe if you want to stay up to date on everything going on. Again, I appreciate you guys taking the time to sit here and go through this with me. I really love our Nancy Drew community. I love going through, talking about the games because they're very special to me. I think that's all I have for this week. Yeah, no, that's it. I am done. Until we meet again, guys, I hope you have an amazing week. Thank you so much for taking this time to sit and talk Nancy Drew with me.